that celebrated grand jury that used Georgia's RICO laws to prosecute Trump and 18 of his lackeys is now being weaponized, ironically, to go against apparently a bigger threat. I hadn't heard of this, but anarchists who love forests. That's right. This is the Republican Attorney General Chris Carr, who indicted 61 activists who've been protesting against the construction of what is dubbed Cop City in Atlanta, but it's also known as the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center. But it's effectively a massive training facility for police officers around the country. I think Corinda, they're going to finally solve the lack of police training we've been hearing about that leads to so many murders of unarmed, specifically Black Americans. I feel like this is
why it's so big.
Yeah, exactly. The bigger it is, the more forest it cuts down, the
more retraining we can give them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, it's going to be ridiculous mock projects, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that they did in Nevada with Afghanistan, creating a mini Kabul in the desert, so people could go and train. Just wild stuff like that. But so 61 defendants, 61 people were indicted. Let's get into exactly what happened. It is implied 61 defendants. The indictment has implied that the defendants are dangerous anarchists, and the state remains the only source for this claim. Even if the accused are all anarchists, this is from the Intelligencer, it doesn't mean they'll all conceive of anarchism in the same way or agree on the same tactics. From this inauspicious beginning, it proceeds, it being the indictment, to cite the mere dissemination of left-wing ideas as suspicious activity. Defend the Atlanta Forest Recruits, it warns, that's the organization, warns people post things on the internet and hand out zines. They prepare for arrest by writing the number for bail funds on their bodies. This is all common political activity, which Georgia is now seeking to punish. Even writing letters to incarcerated protesters is an evidence of conspiracy. So wild, just red baiting shit, wild, anything you're doing, any flyer, you sent a text message, whatnot, 61 people. So here's some of the supposed charges. Jeffrey Parsons, on or about January 18th, attempted to occupy the DeKalb Forest and prevent the construction of the Atlanta Public Safety Training. So again, occupying, physically being there. Oh, and then he signed his name as ACAB. This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. What?
ACAB? That's a furtherance of it? Oh, man.
No, exactly. I mean, are we going to sweep up teens who are writing it on their binders and stuff in the Atlanta area?
I mean, this guy is grabbing at straws. You're indicting people for protesting under the RICO. That's what you think this law is for? Because people are trying to prevent you creating this humongous training facility.
Yes,
they're protesting.
They're protesting. And yeah, there has been someone threw a Molotov cocktail. I want to kick it to Chris Hayes over at MSNBC, who sort of explained how crazy this entire indictment is.
Ever since Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis brought a racketeering indictment against Donald Trump and his co-defendants, we've talked a lot about Georgia's particularly expansive version of that RICO law. It creates real legal peril for the ex-president and his co-conspirators, and it seems to be an appropriate tool to use against the transgression of their illegitimate and fundamentally unlawful project to overturn the election. The very breadth of that law can be a real double-edged sword, as people in Georgia, particularly defense attorneys, will be among the first to tell you. We got an example of that yesterday, when the very same grand jury that indicted Donald Trump also indicted 61 community activists and others, many of whom were attempting to stop the construction of a new police training facility. Now, some of the people involved in that have been accused of specific crimes, like throwing Molotov cocktails at police, for example, or approaching officers with weapons in a threatening manner. But what this application of Georgia's RICO statute does is that it also rolls up a whole bunch of people who did things like get a $62 reimbursement for food and a $12 reimbursement for glue.
Yeah, just the same as trying to send an alternate slate of electors to DC to overturn an election. Same shit.
I mean, if you're throwing a Molotov cocktail at a police officer, okay. there's a crime there. If you're reimbursing somebody for food, how are you being swept up in a RICO indictment? And I see that they're also trying to go after the people who were bailing them out, right? So they're going after the bail fund. They're sweeping them into this. So now it's illegal to bail someone out.
No, it is. It's such a scary precedent. Like, and it makes me so mad because to go off on a little divergence here, it also kind of is an argument against going after someone like Trump under these RICO cases, which is such bullshit. I absolutely think that he and his lackeys should be we should go after them. I'm glad that Fani Willis is doing it. It's a perfect use of RICO. It makes sense. But then you see the ways that all of these things are then weaponized against always activists and truly politicized. Donald Trump and all of his followers are like, oh, you're politicizing the justice system. No. In fact, they're doing everything they can to be as fair as they can. Everyone's going to get off if they ever get convicted with very light sentences. Come on. You know he's not going to see the inside of a cell. Let's get real. The difference is that these folks, nobody knows their names. Nobody really yes, there are people probably who listen to the show who've supported and these are real people, but like, these are the folks who are being demonized, and this is who the law is being politicized to persecute, and historically that's always been the case. And so it annoys me because I'm just like, oh god damn it. Like,
listen, in this country, we're always going to be damned if we do and damned if we don't. If they go after Trump on the RICO, of course they're going to find ways to use that against activists. I mean, we've always done that. I mean, they've gone and got the term woke, and they have completely flipped it on its head and turned it into something it was never meant to be. So, this is what they do. Like, if we stop doing stuff just because they're going to take it and fuck it up, we won't be able to do anything because that's what they do. I mean,
no, absolutely.
They don't have the ability to go and do their own shit. I mean, look at the 1619 project, right? So now they've got the 1776 project. It's like, you can't even come up with your own shit. Like, you can't even do it on your own. You have to wait for us, and then you just do a version of it.
Yes.
It's like,
when your politics is all projection, you're just kind of miming.
You're just copying everything that we do. I mean, it's just, it's absurd, but this is what they do.
Right.
That's all they can do.
Exactly. And that's sort of the analysis is that, okay, so this Republican AG, it's like the one thing they have is, they have this, district judge that they can't rein in. So, so instead they're like, you know what, we're going to go after these people as if mainstream Democrats honestly really even support these protesters, which they should. And I just want to go to a little bit of a video because people are really putting their lives and their bodies on the line here to stop this forest from being demolished, which is, of course, to say nothing of how important it is to like the city of Atlanta to have that green space. And in addition to, and I believe like the sort of native significance, indigenous significance of the forest itself. To say nothing of the fact that they killed Tortuguita, a protester. The cops killed him while they were protesting this. Here's folks, sort of holding the line and continuing to demonstrate.
We are religious people here, guided by our faith to stand up and protect the land. We are supported by our community, which are right there. We are here with the support of not just the people, but the forests and the environmental protection movement globally. We will not leave here. We will stand here until this forest is rebuilt.
61 people are being charged for racketeering, which is illegal organizing, just to organize to defend this forest. What's next?
It is also troubling to me that this training facility is in a predominantly black community in DeKalb County. It is institutional racism at work when communities of color are repeatedly degraded, this time by the presence of increased militarism in their own neighborhoods.
The corporations that are empowered to make the decisions that affect our lives are not going to make the right decisions. So we have to stand up and take our own future into our own hands through direct actions like this. We need as many people as possible to join in this fight of nonviolent direct actions. The more of us that are willing to take the risk and come out here and put their bodies on the line to save the forest, then we will win.
So that is those from religious, faith-based protesters chaining themselves to bulldozers that are currently, bulldozing this forest. Now that footage was from the Atlanta Community Press Collective. Lastly, Corinda, before we move on, you got to know that organizers have been able to collect 116,000 signatures to put this to a vote for Atlantans to vote on whether or not they want this cop city. And guess what happened?
They will never let that happen. They won't. I mean, they won't. I mean, I can't see it.
You called it. So Atlanta officials are refusing to verify those signatures. They're basically throwing everything at them. They're like, you got to match them up with the voter signatures. You got to do this. All the ways that different electeds and whatever oligarchs use to basically say, nah, you did it the right way, but it doesn't count cuz. So they're tossing them out if the signature doesn't match what officials have on file. Organizers say they ultimately only need, get this, 58,203 valid signatures, equivalent of 15% of registered voters as of the last election. And they have that. They have 116,000 because they knew that they were going to get a lot of them thrown out. So they have way more. But that doesn't matter, though they refuse to count them. This is the best part, though. So Cop City was approved in 2021, September, 2 years ago, by the city council. And the land is being leased to the private Atlanta Police Foundation for $10 a year. Meanwhile, all the money that's being used to brutalize these protesters, that's coming from the city of Atlanta and the people of Atlanta. So
I mean, look, the irony of this whole situation is that they're building this thing in a majority Black neighborhood. They're cutting down this forest in a majority Black neighborhood, which means, they're wrecking the environment. We've heard of racist environments. I mean, we know that it happens. I mean, all across America, they've always drove the freeway through Black neighborhoods and just wrecked it. And people are paying their tax dollars to basically kill themselves, because we know that once this training facility is completed and once the training begins and once it ends, that the way police brutality invokes itself on Black communities is going to be the same. Like, they're not building this facility to train police officers to stop killing Black people. They're not building it for that. They're building it to continue the type of policies that they have everywhere. And so there's a reason why people are protesting this. It's because if you're not using this facility to radically change the way that you police minority communities in this country, why are we paying our tax dollars to kill ourselves? Why would we ever do that? Why would we do that? So that's why these people are out there putting their lives on the line. And I wish that there were more people out there. I wish that there were more.
Yeah. And I think that, it's on us because, like I said, Democrats really don't have the people's back here. And you see city council doesn't have the people's back. You see the ways that the Black Lives Matter movement has been demonized from the highest echelons of this country, from the Senate, from the president himself. Fund the police. It's the one issue that got people out in 2020 to vote.
I mean,
at least young people.
No Black movement in this country that has ever been embraced. I mean, that is the truth of the matter. I mean, even people who say today that they, love Malcolm X and MLK. I mean, the truth of the matter is when they were alive, they didn't have the following that they have today. Right. So, in retrospect, of course, they're going to demonize anything that puts Black lives on par with any other lives. So, I mean, I expect that to happen, but you also expect the party that Black people have supported and Black people have put their blood, sweat, and tears into to stand up for us when we need them to. And they have not done that in this case.
I mean, it would go a long way for even the vice president, right? The first woman of color, first Black woman, vice president. Say something, right? But she's a top cop, I don't think she's gonna say. I don't think she's gonna say shit.
Not going to dip her toe into that pool because I mean they've already dragged her for things she doesn't have anything to do with. So for her to, she's not politically. It's not a thing that she's ever going to,
No, she won't. And I am curious, and I full disclosure, I have not seen maybe what someone like Stacey Abrams, again, a progressive leader in Georgia, has said about it. But it feels very much like protesters are alone. And I think that has to do with what they're protesting and yes, who they are and where they are and who they're fighting for. But look, 116 people signed this thing. It only takes 58,000. Put it on the ballot. No one says you're overturning it. Just leave it to the people. They might vote. Make your case. You're going to flood Atlantans with tons of fake propaganda about why you need this thing. So
but they can't take a chance. They can't take that chance. They've put too much money, too much effort, too much time into this
$10 a year
for there to even be a chance for the people in Georgia to say no. They can't take that chance. They won't allow it.
What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Do